my shortfalls, Heavenly Father God. And I humbly come to you this morning, ask you for those blessings like that. Bless all my brothers as well, my uncle, Heavenly Father God, my yashis, and we do our work every day, Heavenly Father God. And we listen to these programs and departments, Heavenly Father God, and these individuals that come before us and contact us, Heavenly Father, asking for guidance, asking for support, Heavenly Father God. Help us to encourage them. Help us to be that listening ear for them, that shoulder for them to cry on, Heavenly Father God. But also remember, to be a leader like that and for them, Heavenly Father God, and to understand them like that, Heavenly Father God, and to do the best that we can to represent them, Heavenly Father God. These things like that, Heavenly Father, I ask you for your blessings like that upon us this morning, Heavenly Father, and all those suffering with an illness, Heavenly Father God. Bless them this morning. The water that they drink, the food that they eat today, Heavenly Father God. May it nourish them, Heavenly Father God. Replenish their spirits, Heavenly Father God. Help them to walk out of those hospitals and those clinics healthy, rejuvenated again, Heavenly Father God, to go home healthy again, Heavenly Father God. That's how I ask you for your blessings upon us today, Heavenly Father God. And bless our veterans, our military men and women, Heavenly Father God, those serving overseas in the United States, Heavenly Father God. Bless them for us at this time, Heavenly Father God. Whatever I may have forgotten, Heavenly Father God, you know my prayers, you know my thoughts, Heavenly Father God. Answer them like that for me at this time, Heavenly Father. Bless them like that again for me at this time. These things again, in your Holy Son's name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Okay, Tele, thank you for the prayer. On the agenda, we have introductions, but I have an announcement. Honorable members of the 24th Navajo Nation Council. On Wednesday, the 4th, there is a meeting at Twin Arrows with the Office of the President and the Navajo Nation Council. The meeting will be on the American Rescue Plan Act. That will be the topic of discussion that day up to 5 o'clock. And it's an all-day thing, but Wednesdays is our RDC meeting. And my recommendation is to have the special RDC meeting on Tuesday. The president wants to meet with RDC on Monday at 1 o'clock, according to their staff, but we haven't received an email yet. So Ms. Begay will follow up on that. So Shanand, just text it to me whether it's okay with you to have our RDC special meeting on Tuesday. That way we can attend the ARPA meeting on Wednesday. So that's my announcement, Shanand. Do you have any announcements?
Chairman Keelan.
Honorable Begay.
Good morning, Chairman, RDC member, other staff, and everyone on the line. Chairman, along that meeting that's scheduled for next week, I want to participate in all those meetings, but as you know that I chose to travel to DC next week regarding the recognition of the Navajo Code Talkers. And yesterday, the past 2 days, I've been talking with the legislative, the speaker staff and the our lobbyists to also schedule several meetings. But though right after maybe Monday afternoon, that's a 2 meeting schedule. They later some on Tuesday because since we're going to be there, some of us I've recommending that we make some visit to the congressional or the Senate and the representatives office. My main effort, there's 2 main areas that last Wednesday, the Congress forward a bill, the infrastructure bill. It's almost about $1 trillion. the objective for me and is that how I specifically am requesting to meet with the United States Department of Transportation and start establishing that how much can the Navajo Nation, just because that I haven't received any document from our Department of Transportation in how they're compiling road projects that could be forwarded to Congress to request or include in this particular funding that's going to be authorized. Maybe this would be the initiation in requesting the United States Transportation Department to maybe sit down with the Navajo Nation. I believe that the President's office is already communicating with the Department of Transportation Secretary Buttigieg. But as you know, that I've indicated that why is it that RDC wasn't invited or notified of the situation of these meetings. I think we need to make some changes to where we're not going to move forward just ourselves, but get information and then regroup. And maybe that will be the time when you will be meeting with the president that we need to clean up some of these issues. But again, Monday would not be feasible for me. But I'd like to be in attendance and meeting with the president of the Navajo Nation, but preferably maybe schedule that later in the week, even the special RDC meeting, probably on the Thursday. Recommend a chairman if it's not too much by the committee, because there's a lot of areas that I want to participate in debating a lot of these issues at the RDC meetings, but for sure I'll be absent for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, and even Wednesday. So not as far as announcement of what I plan on doing on behalf of the delegation that's going to be in DC to address a lot of these infrastructure that we want to ask to include in this infrastructure bill at DC level. So I really want to push for RDC and on behalf of the Navajo Nation. How much will we plan to submit for road projects? Chairman, I don't know if we need further discussion on this particular plan that I'm making discussion with the Speaker's office. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay, for your information. And the Office of the President reached out and scheduled this meeting on Monday. It's the only time that they have open at 1 o'clock. So we just agreed with that. And Tuesdays, when we would like to have that RDC special meeting, and Wednesday is the Office of the President Navajo Nation Council meeting on ARPA at Twin Arrows. Thursday and Friday, on the 5th and the 6th, we have RDC oversight budget hearings for 2 days, as well as the following week on Monday and Tuesday, Nana, the 9th and the 10th. So we're very busy. And then some of us are going to Montana and Wyoming to tour the Intech mines on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll be back. And so next Thursday, to push it back to next Thursday, we're really out of time except the 16th through the 20th. But with this meeting with the president on the drought, I believe it will fall in line with the emergency legislation as soon as they're compiled and submitted the budgets. So I don't think we can move that. And I know you're very busy as well as representing RDC going to Virginia for the Navajo Code Talkers honorary flag raising ceremony they're going to have over there. And a few of our colleagues are going to be there as well, Honorable Begay. So next Thursday and Friday, the 5th and the 6th, we have RDC oversight budget hearings. Honorable Begay.
Okay, Chairman. Yeah, like I said, that's just a recommendation, and I'm hoping. Well, I'll probably maybe request to have a call-in number so I can at least listen in to what is being discussed at these meetings. Chairman, that would be my request. On the other hand, again, I just don't want to present certain documents at DC level without any notification to you as chair and the oversight committee. But the meeting that I'm requesting on behalf of the council and in talking with the speaker's office, and I told speaker about it, is that it's not something more of an official document to be forwarded to them without any notification, but something that the Division of Transportation will be formulating with working with the President's Office and the Navajo Nation Council. Bandit indo dit a kudol na bihob kaya pakao adan ki niki hijo bachana to hijo kudon hidit na sos linki nada dit na sadit an hijo hada dit. Some type of that discussion is what I'm thinking of. Something formally could be and should be come through you as chair of the RDC. So that's where I reserve that consideration and respect, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. So we'll go ahead and keep the date with the president since they're the ones reaching out to RDC for Monday. And if there's anything that you would like to submit for us to provide to the president, we would appreciate it, Honorable Begay, that day. So, Ms. Begay, if you would. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Chairman. Maybe provide me the specific purpose, the request of the meeting, so that way I can maybe formulate some questions, a formal statement to you as RDC member and RDC chair, so that could be addressed at the meeting with the president, Chairman.
Today we will receive an agenda for the drought meeting with the president on Monday at 1 o'clock. So perhaps you can review the agenda once it's sent to RDC. So, Ms. Begay, if you would, submit a special meeting for Tuesday, and perhaps we can get started on Tuesday at about 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whichever one will be feasible for all of us. And Wednesday, we'll all be at Twin Arrows for the ARPA meeting. Thursday and Friday is the oversight budget hearings. Thank you. Any other announcements, Nanda? None? Let's do the introductions. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, are you on the call with us? Honorable Daniels, introductions.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much. Kudo Sudechi Kudoda Sonata Shangido Nana Kudo Fish Hosting Kudo Insgagor Herman Daniels Jr. I don't know, trying to get you the I mean I don't Kilichini that's it. I got to that's another I don't that toy get Lini Donana not hide the night that's a check or that man Schlenko a raid up or jet having this guy force gum that has snake force gum hill that has I don't use to Kudo not honestly go that's the hot thing. I don't that Kudo Panash Yan raid up or jet not to on but he can't do shot to a Panash or that is a down state or less. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Begay.
Good morning again, Chairman. Other RDC member. Kudos Stage. And I need an instrument on a dash jab, and it does it other discipline national. Other slam that they but had the shaggy age it is episode the skis said it is Muslim other dog Helena, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Introductions. Introductions. Yat again. Let's go. Here this morning for RDC leadership meeting. I need to do Wilson Sister Jenny and Shadow Kodo Tell he just has snart då. Kodo base pass and tell the back L Quins and he jade. Resource Development Committee the NEPA's subcommittee for the agency representative in for Resource Development Committee put so the Ainsle Nanish Edgecatchin Bashin Catchin as a trade double between the Chanel Quinsoshna.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Freeland. Rick Nazi, she was son and slow, Zetchin, Bashish chain, and habitant that should shade okay, on it, Chanel died and then Strong chapters, Monash, Nishige, Hogbacks, and on, and others out of Frulam, Burnham, and Nickham. Welcome, everybody. Honorable
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead.
Sorry, I was really talking away. My apologies. She Mark Freeland, she also need to put on the key on his Central Kinnis, Chelton, application. I represent 8 chapters. Eastern Navajo Agency representative on RDC, Crown Point, Donadish, I Basenti. White Rock, Lake Valley, Herfino, and Nayazda. Good morning to all of our chapters out there. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Paul Begay.
Yes, Honorable Chair Ricky Nez, members of RDC. Just wanted to join in today for leadership discussion. In addition to that, the shape poverty in Shio. Now, after we not often as like I thought now, not just the taught on a helling. The chili, they got gate out to not back of a team. I didn't hear for our other Islam stuff. But it's given the name clean up with the Tony, but it's changed. The trade, put a training on the Russian. 8 years on it, and it's not that put that mentioned course. Yeah, so you can say how long all this.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. RDC staff, Ms. Begay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, the Resource Development Committee, and the audience that are listening to our leadership meeting. Yat Bina. Shami began Shado Nakada and Slon the position, but she combined data shade touching data snala die sun and slack. I don't lay need G down, Sawmill, Arizona down. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Ms. Woody.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and then RDC members. Good morning. And those people that are on the line listening, good morning to you all too. Shea Teresa Woody and Shadow Taban Shlon Betlis and Bushstein. Kiani that she chaded and Ajane that she nale and the Hoyet Eco Steamboat Adeko A and Asha Hoto and each house lately. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Woody. Office of Legislative Counsel. None. Speaker's Office, Ms. Yako. None. Ms. Hope Wilson.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, it's been Shanant Aido, members of the Resources and Development Committee, Melinda Arviso Siako, Yanshiedo, Tsanajini Shnol, Kiani Bashichin, Dr. Jini Dashichedo, Dashini Dashanala, and thank you for having the Speaker's Office on the call today, Legislative Staff Assistant here in Window Rock, Arizona. And I just want to say good morning to everyone and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Siako. Ms. Wilson?
Good morning, Chairman Nez, members of the RDC Committee, and those listening. I'm Hope Wilson, and I'm the Natural Resource Enforcement Manager for the Department of Resource Enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Pernell Halona.
RDC members, good morning. And our staff, good morning to the staff as well as all the people on the call. Pernell Halona, the Jene. Korichini Isle, Ashe, Bushes Chain, Anastasia, that's a chair, 200, that's a Nella. I represent Tohatchee, Nash City, Twin Lakes, Coyote Canyon, and Mexican Springs. And the Shahad Law for recognizing me, Chairman. And good morning again to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Halona. Department of Justice, Dan.
Good morning, Chairman Nez and honorable members of RDC. This is Dan Moquin with Navajo Nation Department of Justice. I want to thank the committee for allowing me to attend, and I want to thank all the participants and people that have called in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from BIA? BIA? None? Navajo Nation Veterinary Department and Animal Control?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Kelly Upshot. I'm not education auto Twabaha Bashichin, Sinajini Dashiche, auto Kia Ani Dashanella, they without an instance, and they on that Nasha, auto Hihat. And thank you and for all of those that are listening and for the honorable members to invite us today. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you. Any other staff from Veterinary Department?
I also have Miss Olivia Holiday here, so if she can go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Olivia Holiday. Topahe, Arohashkan Hadzohe, the Beth Legend, Bitsatni are my clans. I am from the Hunters Point, Arizona area. Recently reside here in Windrock, and I just like to thank you guys for inviting us here and just hearing us out. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, what is your last name, sir, from Department of Justice?
Dan Moquin. That's Moquin.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any others on the call? Honorable
Good morning.
Odo So.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Resources Development Committee, staff, those of you that are on the line and travel programs. Yeah, it's been a shame also in Chia. Oh, not quite natural here, cleaning, though, and she's up on what she. Well, 20 is a day, 8 days, I'm on the line and glad to hear you guys out today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the call this morning?
Good morning, Chairman Nez and delegates of the RDC. This is Kevin Gleason with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Acting Animal Control Program Manager currently. Just to let you know that Fish and Wildlife has its own enforcement program besides DRE. So I actually run our enforcement program for Fish and Wildlife. And right now, I'm the acting animal control program manager since Ms. Davis left. My clans are Husquis, Kinkajini, born for a non-native. Been working under natural resource for 30 years.
Thank you. Anybody else? None? Good morning, everybody. The purpose of our leadership meeting this morning is to have some discussions on the overpopulation of small animals across the Navajo Nation and the high numbers of dog attacks on livestock and humans. And we would like to discuss some mitigation measures and identify some funding to better serve our local communities. So, Number 3 on the agenda, we have presentation discussions. First bullet point will be the fertility control, veterinary program, spay and neuter. Veterinary program department, you have the floor.
Good morning. Is there a possible way to, is that okay for you
We
to do a
can't hear you.
presentation?
We can barely hear you.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
A little better. Could you turn up the volume?
Okay, hold on. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you pretty good now. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning and thank you. Is there a way to share my screen or present? Is that possible?
Ms.
Or I
Beth?
could just.
Just go ahead and do your presentation.
Okay. So good morning, everybody listening, and thank you again. My name is Dr. Upshaw, and I've been a veterinarian with the Navajo Nation Veterinarian Program for 39 years. For 15 years, I'm sorry. And I also have Miss Olivia Holiday here. So I just wanted to just give kind of an overview of our clinics and just kind of give you an overview what we've been doing in the efforts to mitigate, and then the gaps in our program, and then identifying some solutions. So I will go ahead and get started. So the mission of the veterinary program is to provide comprehensive veterinary services while protecting animal health and alleviating animal suffering. Our mission is to promote public health, conservation, sustainability, and the advancement of medical knowledge. So our veterinary program consists of 6 sub-programs. We have our companion animal services, our large animal services, our livestock management, our animal ID program, our regulatory and surveillance program, and then our Operation Puppy Rescue. We are probably one of the few Navajo veterinary programs in this area to provide both small and large animal services. A lot of the private practices are moving towards small animal medicine. So we do work on, your bucking bulls, your rodeo stock, and then we can come back and work on the small animal population. And that is becoming a rare veterinary program, and I believe it's a dying breed. So kudos to our team. So our team consists of 14 staff at our 3 clinics. We have the San Benito Clinic. We have about 8 staff there. The Shiprock Clinic has about 3 staff, and then the Chinle office also has 2 staff. So I just kind of wanted to give a comparison of our veterinary services. The average national veterinary transaction, so this means off the nation, they took an average. The national veterinary transaction average is $184 per client. In 2011, we did a study, and that study stated that the average Navajo Nation veterinary program transaction was $35 per client. And then in 2018, we did another data, and it was $85 per client. So as you can see, we strive and we are committed to providing a low-cost veterinary service to the people and to our people, you know, on and off the Navajo Nation, because we do get people who come back from, you know, the municipalities and want our services. But we also have to remember that this, you know, comes at a cost, and it comes at a cost to the nation. So direct services is really our key point, you know, providing the direct services into the community. So we have the two funds, the general fund and our proprietary fund, and we follow the program and performance criteria. Annually, every year, we've met and exceeded our goals in earned income, our revenue, animal scene, outreach, and our regulatory work. I wish you could see the slide, but it's a slide on our direct services and client scene. In 2019, you know, before the pandemic, our total client scene was 6,543. Our busy months are from April to September. And then during the pandemic, or when the pandemic hit, we did try to shut down as was recommended, but we would answer calls, and there was just no way that we could be shut down. And so internally, I had to kind of think of a way to still provide services, but keep our staff safe, our patients safe, and our clients safe. So we initiated a veterinary program protocol with curbside services, and we got walkie-talkies so that the clients could, when they come in, they could still, you know, come in and talk to us. And just, it was a big change. But that year we saw 2,868 clients. So it was about half of the prior years. And then this year we're wrapping back up. We're still providing this curbside services, appointments only. And we are probably about maybe 80% of what we were the year before. So, and then the next slide is animal scene. Same thing that occurred 2019. We saw almost 7,000 animals between our three clinics. This is both large and small animals combined. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, that number dropped to 3,864 animals. So it's just above half. And then come 2021, we are ramping back up, still with the safety protocols in place, but we are probably by the end of the year, we will have managed to adjust to COVID and keep our staff safe and our clients safe, and try to, it was definitely a tax to see these animals and still keep our numbers and our animal scene high. So I'm going to just talk about our proprietary funds. So we do have a proprietary fund, and we did do a backlog from 2021 all the way to 2014. And so the average loan allocation has been between 205,000 to about, just last year, we've got 100,000. So what happens is we do accept revenue, or income, earned income from our clients. And at the end of the year, every year except for the pandemic year, we've met that loan allocation, and we've exceeded the loan allocation by anywhere from 50 to almost 100,000, $140,000. I don't know if you want to call it profit, but that's what we've made over that loan allocation. In addition, you know, it's because, like I said, our third and fourth quarters are a busy year. At that time, you know, the Office of the Controller and the projections are already made in the second quarter. So it looks like we're not going to make our loan allocation amount, but really come third and fourth quarters, when we ramp up everything and we bring in most of our funds. And when we hit that target amount, it's hard to move money back down to support our program. So this was kind of just one question that I had, that we had as a programs. How can we move that money back down to support our program and our staff that are out there in the field? So budget allocation trends for 11/50/34. In 2015, we had just above $700,000 in that account, in that we were allocated. And then as years have gone on, we've decreased in that budget. So just last year's budget was $527,000. So we've decreased by almost $200,000, trying to keep 3 clinics open, trying to keep a mobile unit going, and all of our programs running. So I really feel like we're hitting a threshold to where we may have to shut down clinics or move people around. So it's really getting to a critical point, I believe. 88% of our personnel is in this budget, and I feel, that our staff are very knowledgeable and committed, and they know what they're doing. They know the small and the large animal work. And I prefer to keep the people on and kind of just take a hit in our operations, because I feel like if you don't have enough people or staff, you still can't provide the service. But at least if you have knowledgeable people on your team, you can still, get by as much as you can. So the budget impacts of fiscal year 2020, we were cut by around 20,000. We did abolish the Chinle veterinarian position. So this is a veterinary position at Chinle. So we currently only have 1 full-time veterinarian and 1 part-time veterinarian at the Shiprock Clinic. And then 2021, like I stated before, we're at that critical point. We had another budget cut, and we had to abolish our Shiprock senior extension agent position. And with the mobile unit being grounded due to the pandemic, we had to kind of think outside the box and move Miss Martin to Shiprock, and she's been running services at the Shiprock Veterinary Clinic. But I think as as restrictions maybe lessen and we can start to provide services in the mobile unit, one or the other is going to have to give. So a lack of personnel in the clinics, results in a decrease of veterinary services and, decreased direct services for our people. So the operational challenges due to these limited budgets are the salary rates are very, very low. The veterinary salary rate is not even competitive with a newly graduated coming out of school veterinarian. So when we do have these positions open, we have interest. We do have a lot of interest, but once they see the salary, they don't want to come and work for us, and that's really difficult to try to fill those positions. We have no OT in our budget, so emergency services we cannot provide, and I feel like we're in survival mode, year in and year out to continue to provide these services. So the challenges, we have 2 programs under our program that are non-funded programs, and we try our best to keep them going. One is the Operation Puppy Rescue, which we'll be talking about in depth in a little bit, and then our Animal ID Premise program. Another challenge is I say 1.2 veterinarians. I know you can't have a 0.2 of a person, but I say that because Dr. Benali is in Shiprock 1 day a week. And she's a full-time veterinarian at the Farmington Veterinary Clinic. So I'm very grateful to her to come in and provide services to her community 1 day out of the week. And then myself, I'm the only full-time veterinarian. And another challenge is due to our constraints in the budget. Our equipment is absent or outdated at all of our clinics. We do not have potable water at the San Benito Veterinary Clinic, so we're buying water for our staff and making sure that they have water to drink and so forth. And like I stated earlier, our third and fourth quarters when we really maximize our earned income. And by that time, the fiscal year projections have already been done. And so and then it's hard to move money back down for operations. So our SWOT, we're big on SWOT here, analysis. Our strengths are that, we have very knowledgeable employees. They're very experienced. They're very skilled and dedicated and committed, as you will see. Our weakness is that we have outdated equipment and limited operations and personnel budget, limited employees to meet the high demands. And then opportunities for growth are grants such as our small animal population control program, the mobile unit, puppy operation rescue, which we'll talk about, the surveillance, our O-Lupi, tick surveillance, and brucellosis. So, and then threats are our financial constraints, and then the low pay scale compared to other private practices surrounding Navajo. So I'm going to go into like the mitigation measures right now for the small animal population. And they're doing our homework and really just trying to understand the issue that faces us. There are three control measures. And the first one is the fertility control. So you have, separating out your males and your females when they're going into heat, or you have the actual, spay and neutering component. The second mitigation measure is removing animals from the communities, right? So you have either, the removal, the surrendering process that's occurring, and then the sheltering and the rehoming, trying to rehome a fixed, dog or cat. The other option is the surrendering process and then euthanasia. So that's humanely putting down these animals. And then the third one is education outreach, getting into our communities and trying to let our people know, this is what happens, these are the effects, and we really need to move together. And we always like to say, and animal control is probably, on the same platform, is that our animals, they protect us, they take care of us, and it's our responsibility, to take care of them. And we need to have, more resources available to them. So thousands of dogs and cats, puppies, kittens are surrendered on Navajo, and many are transported off Navajo each year into no-kill shelters, and many more are euthanized. So we really do have a big issue that we're trying to fight. So this is my brain. If you can see this slide, I really wish you can see it, because this is kind of how we look at things at the veterinary program. We have to sit down and look at the issue. So the issue is the roaming intact small animal, and roaming intact small animals. So if you can't, see this, those are the two components that we're seeing lead to these issues. And these issues are the exponential population growth. So as you know, a dog or a cat can have 3 to 4 heat cycles and 6 to 8 puppies. So in 1 year, it just goes, it just grows, pretty soon you just had 1 puppy and now you have 30. So, and then we also had the increased livestock attacks. We have, disease transmission risks. We have this increased surrendering. It just used to be the puppies that were being surrendered, but now we're getting adult dogs, adult cats that are being surrendered, and those are very difficult to home. There's also, the inhumane treatment and euthanasia occurring, these due to maybe the overpopulation, they don't know how to handle it, so they kind of take matters into their own hands. Then you have increased dog attacks on humans, and this creates a more inhumane treatment. We also have the negative stereotype of our dog. Now it's almost like we don't want them in our, around our home, or we just want to get rid of them. And so, we have all these things occurring. And then this is the big one that we're seeing as shelters off Navajo Nation. They are also reaching a capacity. They are also, we're having to wait longer to move these puppies, to move these dogs off Navajo so that they can be adopted out. So that's increased care, increased time, and we're even having to transport further and further away. So right now we're looking into Oregon and we're looking into North Dakota, and it's almost like we're really trying to expand our our very, very limited resources. And it's just a big old, this is a huge beast that we're up against. So if you can see this, or I can send you out the PowerPoint. And at the bottom of the picture, I say, it's not the animals, it's nihye, it's our responsibility. I really just think the people in our communities need more resources. So the roaming intact small animal, you kind of got, we really kind of focused down on this in this dog and cat. And we had the discussion, is it the roaming component? Is it the intact component? Meaning intact, meaning not spayed or neutered. And if you just had a roaming fixed dog and cat, would that help us in our endeavors? And we say yes, because then you wouldn't have the exponential growth, which if you looked at the matrix before, it leads to so many different results. And if you have just the intact non-roaming dog and cat, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys have had an intact female dog that's in heat. And it's just like, stallions that come in, they will break down panels, they will just to breed. And so it's the same thing with the dog and cat. They will break through kennels. Even if you keep them non-roaming. So really the goal is that intact, that fixing, that spaying portion, and then the outreach. And then we also looked at, are these animals owned? Are they semi-owned? Are they unowned due to dog dumping? There's this big old matrix that's occurring. And how do we come together as, entities and animal control? And how can we, I know for the veterinary program, we are focused on that owned animal population, that they want to come in and they're fighting to get veterinary services because it's so limited. So, what about all the other populations that are coming, that are out there, and how do we target them and how do we identify them? And I really feel like, I'm sure animal control, when they have their discussion, they really have a good insight to another population. And then another insight is the surrender population. So really trying to get in and figure out, what's going on. So at the veterinary program, every year we do about 1,200 to 1,300 spays and neuters, depending on if the mobile unit's going and what we have. But it's about 12 to 1,300 spays and neuters. This year we're at 710 spays and neuters, so we will definitely get to that 1,300 mark. And these are done at the Chinle, Shiprock, and San Benito Clinic. And if you can see my slide, you see this machine out in the back. These are our techs. This machine was here when I started. We're still using this machine. We do get it calibrated, but it looks like something out of like MASH. Like it really does, but it works. These machines run anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And that's a whole month of veterinary supplies for us. So we really have to pick and choose what we can spend on. So COVID-19 and the effect, we just went through a year of COVID-19. We're still battling. We're not out of it by any means. So just last year, we did 95 spays and neuters. We usually do our spay and neuter month in February. So February was right before the shutdown. and we were getting our mobile unit going. We were getting, everything in place. But that year alone, we only did 95 spays and neuters. And this is probably for other veterinary programs across the country because, it was stated only emergency stuff, you're not doing an elective surgery. These were not supposed to be done. And is this really an elective surgery? Are we really essential? After this slide, I hope we realize that we are essential. We are an essential program. And so going through the slides, so I just did 1,200 spays and neuters. That's what we do on an average. I minused out our 95 that we did. That left 1,105 that we did not spay or neuter. 1,105 animals. So I cut that in half, and that left 553 intact female dogs. So you multiply that times 4 heat cycles, times an average of 8 puppies. Just in 1 year, our program not providing this spay and neuter service, new puppies is 17,696 puppies. It was a shocker, once you start to really look down deep. And I think this slide alone, it tells how essential our services are, probably along with animal control and other programs that provide these services, because just one year, this is what the growth could be or is at. So again, back to mitigation measures, fertility control, that's kind of coming from the top, right? From the top where the owned or the semi-owned population, coming from the top down and kind of mitigating and putting in outreach education. And that's our how we mitigate. And I'm only one person, one veterinarian. Like I said, we have Dr. Benali, but our staff, myself, we probably do about 20 to 25 per day. And then it's not every day, I'm traveling to Chinle, I'm traveling to Shiprock every other week. So we really have to pick our days because we have other, we have the large animal work, we have, our parvos, our hit by cars, and our trauma. So really trying to make sure we're hitting all the areas that we're trying to hit, in addition to the spay and neuter program, our spay and neuter services. So I'm going to go into our Operation Puppy Rescue Program. This is a huge program that's not funded. It kind of just, we meshed it into our budget, and it's a really great program. So it started in 1998 as a non-funded program, as a partnership. And the partnership was to transfer healthy pets off the nation into municipal cities and areas. And it started with Arizona Humane Society. And the agreement was then they would provide dog food and possible vaccines based on supplies. And we would, provide, the puppies, the healthy puppies vaccinated. The goal was to decrease the uncontrolled population of unwanted and stray animals and decrease the high euthanasia rate that we're seeing on our nation. So if you can see right now, it's really a foster program. And if you understand, a foster program is where you recruit volunteers to take care of these puppies for 2 to 3 weeks. So you vaccinate them, make sure they're okay, make sure they can go into the program, and then they go out of your facility into homes to be taken care of and watched over. So it was only supposed to be 15 dogs per month and meet at designated locations. There was the program and project specialist ran this foster, and there is that transport component. So they had the intake, as I stated, the treatment and the care, and then the transport is having an adequate vehicle, an adequate operating budget. Hence, this is a non-funded program. And then the veterinarian does the exams, the medical workups, and the clearance for movement. So we really shouldn't, just be moving puppies off the nation without those clearances. And you'll see kind of the backlash that we're kind of seeing in a little bit. So the current status of Operation Puppy Rescue, and this is just this past year. In first quarter, Miss Holiday had 185 animals in her program. That's one quarter. That's first quarter. That's 3 months. And she sheltered all of her animals here because it's winter. It's difficult to find fosters. And so all the animals that were moved, they were sheltered here at the clinic. And second quarter was 169 animals, and she sheltered all of them again. And then third quarter, summer's coming and our spring, and it's a total of 405 animals, and she sheltered 345, and 60 animals were fostered. So that came to about an 85% shelter rate. So the total, as of the end of third quarter, we had 759 animals come through the Operation Puppy Rescue Program. 699 of them were sheltered. So that puts us at a 92% shelter rate. And we don't have a shelter. So it's in the back of the clinic. So the agreement, like I stated, was 15 dogs for 12 months. And that was 180 dogs through this partnership. So as you can see, it's way over. It's by the end of the year, she'll probably move about 11 to 1,200 animals. And so with that, she's had to expand her umbrella. She's had to expand her partnerships and really try to help, this unwanted surrendered population. So another thinking outside of the box that we did after visiting some humane societies off the nation, we took a small population of dogs and puppies, and we spayed and neutered them within the program. We vaccinated them, and then we identified these as kind of like a resilient dog and cat. And we charged a rehoming fee. So it was just kind of just playing with that idea of an adoptable spayed, vaccinated animal that we could maybe offer, maybe another outlet. And it was really interesting. The humane societies, they were very, very excited, and they are willing, because as you know, once these dogs leave the nation, they have to be vaccinated, they have to be quarantined, they have to be cared for, and they have to be spayed and neutered. So they're kind of covering that cost on the back end. But on the front end, what are we seeing? For me and for my program, not all we're seeing, but what we're getting is dog food and maybe vaccines. What about the outreach? What about the spay and neuter? What about all of those things that we should be seeing, that we should be seeing those opportunities when these dogs are leaving? Yes, they are doing, I don't want to say us a favor, but but we can also provide that market, I guess we could say. And I know people are saying, hey, Otto, you're not supposed to sell dogs, but it's not selling, we're not selling the dog. We're reinvesting back in the spay and neuter. We're reinvesting back in the vaccine. We're reinvesting back into the care that's occurring, that needs to occur to get these dogs moved into forever safe homes. So the challenges and approaches. So like I stated before, for a foster program, you need a foster coordinator, and that's all she does, or he does. She doesn't clean kennels. That person, that's their main focus. But as I've shown you, we've almost turned into a surrender shelter program. Like I stated, 90% of our owners, they don't want to foster. They would rather just drop off and probably animal control can contest to this. They don't want to deal with it, and as I listened, in the past, month, we always say, our people, they're at maybe 70% of our people are at the poverty rate or below. So really volunteering is not really high on their priorities. They're just trying to survive, just like our dogs and our cats that are roaming out there. They're just trying to get by. So to ask them to foster and to volunteer and to clean kennels, that is like, we're in a very different environment than off the nation. And we have humane societies. Well, how come you don't get volunteers? And it's like, you don't understand the dynamics that's occurring here. You don't understand, our people. And I'm hoping that with our programs, we can start to understand and start to mitigate in these areas. So our transport program, in addition, we don't have a transport vehicle. It broke down. We don't have a travel budget. So our staff, as dedicated and committed as they are, they use their own POVs for transport, use our own finances for gas money to get these puppies to these no-kill shelters or at destinations. That's how committed we are. So the Sabanito shelter in the back, so we've kind of turned the back of the clinic into a shelter. It's not insulated. It's hot in the summer, cold in the winter. There's no drainage for cleaning. We don't even have, potable water. And then we have kennels that have been here since I've started. Sometimes we don't have enough kennel space. So this is the next pictures. So, and if you really look at it, there's no humane society or shelter. Animal control does have their shelter. How many can they hold? Can they hold 40, 50 puppies for 2 to 3 weeks? We're pushing that limit. And then partnering with rescues and Navajo-led rescues on Navajo and then non-Navajo rescues off Navajo. So the next page is what it looks like. So this is our shelter in the back of the clinic. As you can see, there are sheep pens and horse pens. This is our large animal area. These are our student helpers that are helping us. So as you can see, there's not enough space in some of these kennels and these pens that we're having to crate them. So the crating is occurring here on the right-hand side and at the bottom. And then you can see here, this is Miss Holiday's vehicle. You can see there's kennels in the back of her vehicle. Like I drove up one morning and I'm like, where are you going? She's like, oh, I just got back from, I don't know from where, Navajo or something. And I'm like, where do your kids sit, eh? I'm just like, man. So it really made me like try to think, God, my staff are working this hard and I have to do something to make it work for them. So we really thought outside the box. This started maybe about 4 to 5 months ago. And the 15 years of experience plus my staff that are here, we really had to look and dig deep. And so we started a nonprofit. So it's a Navajo-led, veterinary-led nonprofit organization. We would like to partner with Operation Puppy Rescue to fill this huge gap. Our focus is on mitigating the unwanted healthy dog and cat, the outreach that is needed, and dedicate our resources to this issue, because the veterinary program, it has all the other components that it deals with, right? The large, the small, the regulatory work that we do. So the time and effort and the focus is very little for this big issue that we're facing. So we really thought deep, what if we could offer a fixed, vaccinated, resilient dog, a res dog, back to our people, back to tourists that are coming through our community. And then developing or moving into a shelter, a veterinary clinic, that's their only focus, right, is kind of spaying and neutering, outreach, education, kind of mitigating, because as you've seen in the slide previously, just 1 year, one entity that doesn't focus on spaying and neutering, what the growth was. And imagine around us and what happened. So that's why we're seeing that capacity being filled up so high. So it's almost like a back effect due to COVID. And then, I mean, I really am thinking, wouldn't it be so cool to have like an obedience training, like a sheepdog training to offer back to our people, like a working dog, like really a facility that focuses on what we need, not what other entities off Navajo need. How we think of things, how we do things, and it's very different than how our counterparts off the Navajo Nation do things. So this is the Navajo Resilient Owner Dog Cat, because it does take that owner component. So this is really the process that in a nutshell that would happen. So you would have your roaming, intact, unwanted small animal. You would have the surrender process. So this is where the initial discussions and the outreach, you can find out the where, the why, the how, because unless, I know animal control, I think they really had this component, and they can get in there, and just maybe we could put one of our staff at their site, and they can really get into that outreach and that why, and then identify those maybe communities or areas, because here at the veterinary program, we get that owned animal. And then the intake process, the exams, and the initial behavior and assessment. Can they even be adopted? Because some can't, some cannot. They're so feral, they cannot even be adopted. And then we're going to vaccinate, quarantine, and test them. And then the preparation process. So the surgery, the spay and neuter, doing that secondary behavior assessment, this boarding time from the surrender to preparations about 4 to 5 weeks, and then matching an adopted an animal to their forever home or family, whether that's on Navajo, off, or we're transporting and we're saying this is a resilient dog or cat. And I don't know if you've ever been to like PetSmart, or even, I would challenge you to go to some humane societies and ask, do you have any animals from the reservations? And look at their rehoming fee. I'm not going to tell you how much it is, but how they market the animals that come off of Navajo. And people, they want to help, people, so they adopt these dogs off Navajo in these huge humane shelters and they're so beautiful and awesome, and they offer so much to their community. And it's really cool to see. But I would challenge you to go and just take a trip to Arizona Humane, or even any of these big, and ask if they have any res dogs, and look at their rehoming fee. So we can just, do owner education and the outreach and try to mitigate in these areas. But we have submitted budgets for our span. That we did submit a supplemental funding. I think it came up to about 2.4 million. That focuses on the spay and neuter portion, really trying to hit from the top down. And then also our nonprofit does have a budget, and really trying to help the Operation Puppy Rescue with our issues that we're seeing, and trying to mitigate, I guess, from the outside in, and from that removal portion of it. So really hitting, 3 out of the 4 mitigation strategies. And this is our resilient dog. This is our sticker, resilient dogs. We protect you. Now it's time, you protect us. Spaying and neutering saves lives. And, all of us here, we all have animals. we we have to be that protector, because in a lot of ways, each of these animals, they protect us also. So Auto, thank you for listening to me. I know it's a lot, and hopefully you're not sleeping. Hey, just kidding. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Upshaw, for the presentation. Did you cover both bullet points, the first and the second one?
I covered kind of pretty much all of it, so I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any questions or comments?
Chair, comment.
Galen?
Honorable Begay, go ahead.
I believe somebody else went before me, Chairman Hishi.
Shishanai.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, again, good morning. Shanai Keto, Shaja Yaja, Dosh Major Ke, Aro Isnot Agi, Dosh Mayaja Asto, Dr. Kelly Upshaw by our staff and Lineage Asto Yat A, Nana Do Kodogi, the presentation and Lineage, been here Queen Nagi on what is happening and what your program, your department is looking at. Quiz Kanda A Adanania. Ado bikut al a milchidesh after no beshe heinzi na ko epic ho kodogi a committee members na liningi RDC little Sunday klehigi a betwashna ko that was back on May 21st. Ita da ko kunza hol jishon dita kodon dita na hol jido kodo a shina kedo shija yajibelch in the program and whatnot. Okay. This is an entity that is very important to the nation in Sombansa's case, and not only for the nation, but for our four-legged creatures. And I've always said, that owning livestock or animals is not cheap. It's a case that, whenever one of them gets ill or sick, you worry about them. But, with us as humans, we can talk and communicate and say, and it takes a very talented individual to do that and to understand those animals, those creatures. Of course, Mayaja and her staff, they do that. They're on call 24/7, and they provide these services out there, and they travel out there. And as livestock owners and ranchers, and we call upon them, wee hours of the night for dog attacks on livestock, livestock getting colic, getting injured in the range, and that comes with the type of work that they do. And she stated before, members, that this is the only clinic around within this area, within this region, that handles large and small animals. And I did ask other clinics as well, do you take care of large and small animals? Majority of them said no. And another thing that I looked at too, after I went to go see her after May 21st was, the community members, I was asking within the 4 chapters, where do you take your animals? And a lot of them said, well, we can't call in. We keep calling into the clinic, but we can't get in. And also we're going to Gallup, we're going to Farmington with our animals. And it was stated in this presentation that they bring down their costs because they know the needs of the Navajo Nation. Border towns, they don't do that. We're paying their fees. And yet this program is something that's being neglected. I believe, that we need to see what we can do for them. And I think setting up a meeting with OOC, Shana, to see how we can look at the preparatory count and the setting of the annual funds to see how that can be increased. And then also, the other area would be, to touch base with First Lady and Second Lady, because I believe this is one of their initiatives to do something with animal control and animals, and what are they doing? They this is something that they were supposed to tackle, but I do appreciate the time that we took to give them the clinic this time to present, and the machines that she's using. I've stated that before. She has 1 day for surgeries, and she rotates between 2 tables, no bigger than probably 3 feet by 4 feet, I believe it was. And then she uses that machine that she showed us, and that's a lot. And I asked what will happen if that ever breaks down. She told me at that time, then we can't do surgeries. But yet we saw the numbers within this past year, 15,000 that will be born again, and from dogs and cats. And we have them roaming around all over the place, and not being taken care of. And we all want to do something with it. And even to this day, and that we hear of dog attacks still happening in small communities, but they're not being reported. And I know that animal control is on as well. Mr. Begay, Joe Begay, is online as well, and he provided me with some pictures at one time when my dog walked off from the house and was out socializing in the community. He got caught, and that's where I found him, was down there. But it was a good thing too, because on that side, it showed me what they go through too as animal control staff. And there's only 3 of them that were here in Fort Defiance at the time. And how they educate. They'll go to grazing committee meetings to educate the grazing officials on what they cannot do with animals, with dogs, and the res dogs that we call them. And also in another presentation with another community member that calls themselves the NEV care group here in Fort Defiance. Their presentation as well to myself and the chapter officials that were there is that the times that dog attacks happen are, and I think it was before one of the committees as well, was from April to August or September. And there was a certain time frame in there as well that days that dog attacks happen. And those are things that we learn as we go. But I really do think that we need to figure out some way to assist this program, and also work with them on their initiative to get a humane society established within the Navajo Nation, on the Navajo Nation, and do some type of dog training for these animals, so that they can be used on ranches, or so they can be helping to our individuals as well within the nation. Also giving back to our people like that as well. That's what I want to share so far, Shania. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Kealan Begay.
Chairman, yeah, no knowledge kodo. Ado kodo nisishna hasne. Di kwake veterinarian nigi. I'm not sure if the mini farms, other chat gate, I believe there was a hello, yeah. It has on it and later. Shoot. My internet just went off.
Animal shelter.
Yeah, animal shelter. Audible has on there. A cocoa. It I think the one thing that we're trying to I want to listen to is that we know the situation, but it's good to to review of the situation and there's a reason why they're established. I like to see a budget which is not the budget 2022. And the key theme is the public education. Even myself, I just see here. Hitnato Bkhayda Bkheda Hunit started Ayopahaton, Klechan has energy Hasho. So Ani with that echo other ordinate Sate, other Klechana Shahanoda, Yada hit the chef. A coco, other Ani Klechan, a bit in nature. Hashit out early in the morning, I don't know how she get any session 8. A being not our Kosate, Klechania. Eventually one of them died from it. What is the effective solution that you, the program, can provide to us? On I can legal show, hey, George quite based on Lenny Bandit. But again, as an oversight, we got the rangers, we got the enforcement, we got the locations, and even last week, 2 weeks ago, Fish and Wildlife. Maybe this is another area that we need to have a tour. I don't know if that needs to be done. Just like the Shohei, on the about was losing though, which battles and Genesi, the button latte that in niche, the Kodos, the Sato, which anon it Shohei, quite stop be back on Nosen. Did be they need niche did out that in niche, no, could argue got touching, Bohonet Zadats, but what ain't the Kodo. My only request is that how could we, as an oversight, in this budget formulation that's coming up, what is the effective solution? Although the other area, Chairman, I know a lot of our Navajo people, and I don't know if they're reorganizing, how they shifting a lot of these positions to certain programs as such. Because there's an opportunity for a lot of our Navajo people retiring. No, but I don't know if they want to refill those positions or there needs to be a revising of the plan of operation to minimize some of these office setting situations. Just that initiative where a lot of these programs and not don't care that Hackett and you days niche are the boots on the ground. No, I call RG geek the focus go to keep control of the animals, especially the dogs. Other go Kodos, solutions that in the pony trade the Losakita, that the shape regulations, the whole long Kodo, a ball long and that church and Lahonda Adulama. Laha Pakistan a Canada the cost of late they bring them on to the Navajo Nation, but yet in Lego a ball not church and and the so what that age Kodo Bantas case Kodo Hon Higi baby National and so again we appreciate your service, your dedication, but we know that we don't provide sufficient resource and funding to your program to be more effective. So the only request I'm asking to the program is that give us a good, solid budget. We may not get it all at once, but how can we gradually be able to develop this particular program effectively? Some fees would be included to reinvest, put them back into your plan of your operation, maintenance, and so on. So, Chairman, and I appreciate the presentation. and then how do we prioritize? That's another thing for us. Johnny, the Fish and Wildlife, I see the Department of Agriculture, I see the grazing area, I see this is another area. I mean, even though they don't know at Hino that was cut the year that store, get that is what the and then I saw in internet there was a person was fined in jail because they just let go of a dog out of nowhere. This person was penalized for doing that. Maybe that's another area that we need to do that. Although spay and neuter in certain area. Maybe that's one area that I see rather than one location. Sunday no one not but our service keep I know it's probably going to cost a lot, but the benefit of it is to continue and reduce and control the overpopulation of animals. Program established also maybe maybe a 6 month drive to do that, to be at these communities that are very, I know but if we know that one house having 10 dogs and 20 or 40 puppies around, I mean, I think that's too much to it's going to be very obvious that this is just too much dog, and there's no way that the owner probably keep these dog nutrition, food, and so on. So that age house out but ending on the but the job bus and they had the car gas station that they Burnside and the gas station no quite trashy that not that quite other so that other some of them get onto the road and get overrun. Get to that age that could that egon other yeah so not the hot Sunday but the penna the hot lonely the best it's on hui la no the see the hui la no the ko that egon has out so is it yeah kodo Shizuzido or request a slot or chairman. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Let me go back to the presenter, Dr. Upshaw.
Yes, thank you. So I think that's a good tool, is to go back into the communities and provide this service. When the mobile unit was running, we were going back into the communities. I think a good 6 month drive would be good. And just that's our main focus. If we don't find, other veterinarians, it's almost like we have to find other veterinarians to fill in the gaps of the clinics, the other services. But I think a 6 month drive in the different communities, maybe trying to reach 100 spays in every maybe chapter, or 50 in each chapter, that would help in moving forward. But the mobile unit, it is pricey. We do the diesel to fill up, the staff to go out there. We usually do 2 days. The first day is the vaccine day. The second day is scheduling out the surgeries. So, that takes me away from the clinics to provide the service, but we've done it, and I'm willing to go out there and, provide that service if that's, where we find the need is and how we can get the most bang for our buck. So.
Are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kevin Gleason, would you like to add anything to the presentation? Press star six.
Yes, I would, Mr. Nez, Chair Nez. This is Kevin Gleason with Navajo Nation Fish and Wildlife, I oversee the animal control program. Because of COVID, it did have a big hindrance to the program because our kennel officers and shelters weren't considered essential, so we actually had to shut them down in 2020. But even though we shut them down in 2020, we still took 7,349 animals that year. Majority of these animals were in reference to livestock attacks, light cases, people abandoning their animals at the shelters that were closed. We did have a small number of officers on to respond to calls, to address the important calls. And we also were able to adopt out 21% of the animals that we took. So we still had to euthanize over 5,000 animals that year. We met half of our goals for 2020. But since 2021 has started, we've taken over 3,000 animals this year. We were closed the first quarter, so our numbers weren't that great. But since then, we've exceeded our Form 2 in the second and third quarter. And we've been able to save 31% of the animals. And we do deal with Dr. Upshaw's puppy program where they take some of the dogs from us. But we also deal with Best Friends, Turquoise Res, and a few other organizations that do take animals from us. Because when we do animal sweeps, we do one animal sweep within the Fort Defiance Agency. It shuts down that shelter for the whole week because we don't have the space to take any more animals. We take anywhere from 22 animals to as much as 200 in an animal sweep. And we've done 11 of them since the second week of June in 11 different communities. And the way we did that is we looked at who was having the most issues, and that's how we addressed them, was by hitting those communities first. We also have been assisting Animal Rescue, which is Glenda Davis's new project. And when she does her stuff with the chapters or NHA and stuff, we go out there and take unwanted from these areas. We had one yesterday, and I don't know what the numbers were on that because they still are trying to compile everything they have done. But because of those 11 sweeps we've done, we've issued over 200 violations to dog owners for their dogs being at large, not being confined. Most of those animals don't get picked up. And we try to send them to rescue groups, shelters, off the reservation. I hate to say this, but we do not adopt any animals out of our shelter back to Navajo residents. Right now, everything we have goes off. In the 7 years I've had to oversee animal control, 5 prior to Glenda. I'm going on the 3rd year now since she's left. We remove over 20,000 animals sometimes per year. And the statistics that Dr. Upshaw showed just on, those dogs, I mean, you look at last year during the pandemic, 17,000 plus dogs were born, and we didn't even make a dent. We don't make a dent, no matter how much animals we take, because it's the lack of spaying and neutering on Navajo Nation, and it's not her fault, it's not the vet program's fault. Our people don't want to pay for it. And to prove a point, this year I did a free rabies and licensing thing for Navajo people. We picked 2 days to do this to see what the response was. 1,400 people showed up for their pet to get the free rabies and licensing. 1,400. At $20 a pop, we would have made $28,000 that day, those 2 days, for the service we provided through animal control at all 5 shelters. As long as money's involved, a lot of them don't want to do this. Animal control, a few years back with the vet clinic and other veterinarians, did a reduced price spay and neutering. The money was donated by a lady that did a cooking show on Travel Channel. She donated money, and we gave them a voucher to help with the cost. It was somewhat of a success, and at the same time it wasn't, because people didn't want to have to pay the extra $25 to get their animals spayed and neutered. Both programs were working together, but when COVID hit, that changed everything. We keep wanting to meet to see what kind of schedule we can put together for the new year. And we're trying to address all the bite cases, all the livestock damage, all the vicious animals as priorities by animal control with the current 7 officers we have. Just to let the RDC know, we were allocated some extra money by the EBRT team. We were given an extra $750,000 for FY22 to hire 6 more officers and try to get more vaccinations and rabies and things like that to address the dog population issues that we're having. But none of it's geared towards spay and neutering, because we are not capable of doing spay and neutering. It usually has to be done by a certified veterinarian. I was also informed we were looking at 1.2, but they gave us $750,000. I was instructed by the President's office that when FY22 starts October 1st, to submit a UUFB budget for $500,000 to get the other 4 staff that we need to help address these animal sweeps, these issues with stray dogs. Because as it stands now, if any one of you delegates called us and said, I had 10 unwanteds I want you to pick up, I hate to say this, but that's our last priority right now. And I'm thinking that if we can get extra staff, more people, and start picking up these unwanted that they don't want, it might help us curb the issues with the livestock attacks, the attack on people, and things like that. But right now, we're not proactive, we're reactive to what's going on. Back when animal control started back in 96 to 98, they were given 16 staff, 16 enforcement officers. Right now, we're running with 7. When I had them that first 5 years before Miss Davis came, our biggest issue was people were complaining that we had no one at the shelters to take on wanted. So we asked for more money back then, and we were given money to hire what we call kennel officers, which are people that maintain the shelters, which give our people a resource to drop off the animals with someone there. Then we start finding out that a lot of them didn't have vehicles and things to transport them. So that still kind of put us in a bind, but it helped us on a limited to have people have a place to drop off their animals. We are scheduling more unwanted days with NHA, with these other communities. We have housings which aren't NHAs. We have done several presentations to several communities. Just this quarter alone, we did Torreon, we did Crown Point, Tallahatchie. We also did one for Navajo, New Mexico, Red Lake chapter this quarter. But like I said, we also conducted 11 sweeps this quarter, and we did issue more than 200 violations. And we're trying to do the best we can with what we've got right now. And I do give my officers a lot of credit for what they're doing with the limited resources and manpower we have. I have involved our game wardens to assist with some of these sweeps. Like when we did Sundance, I assigned all 3 of my game wardens to assist with that. And majority of these animal sweeps we've done, I've assigned 1 game warden to assist them, because people tend to have more respect with someone with a firearm and a badge than they do officers who just carry badges and no firearms. We tend to have less aggression from them, but we still have issues when we deal with them. So that's where we're at right now. Chairman Nez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gleason. Next in the queue, I have Honorable Chairwoman Charles Newton. Press *6. Charles Newton. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? Dr. Upshaw, what we would like also is for you to highlight your overall department's operational needs and not just the small animals, include other large animals as well. It was mentioned by Honorable Begay, the llamas also, so perhaps horses and cattle also, Dr. Upshaw.
Our doctor is currently downstairs doing a horse exam real quick, and she'll be right back. But just to clarify, we are doing the free stallion castration. She is open to doing llamas. So they would just have to make that appointment with us, and it's also free of charge for the castration. So we are doing that portion. As for cattle, they would have to make an appointment with us, and then we can. So we are, but basically, like she said, same goes with dogs. It's mainly like the responsible owners that take that initiative to haul in their animals to get that done. And we also are waiting for, I believe, risk management to give us a go ahead to do the free horse castration in Tuba City. But so far, we haven't gotten response back. So we don't know how it looks next week for that horse castration day. But she does include the llamas in that also. So just an FYI.
Thank you very much for that. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman and committee members and our legislative staff, to the various offices that are with us on this call. Other the presenters, appreciate the time given, appreciate the information shared with us. This is certainly an opportunity to learn as much as we can from our programs and departments on various needs of our communities and nation, and in the areas of livestock and animal control. Certainly today we picked up more information, more insight, more perspectives. So I know my colleagues on the call, they are always listening out on how to, moving forward, how to better address some of the concerns and issues that all of us face. So the situation with animal control, dogs and cats and livestock, we all face that. This is all of us. That something that we have to deal with eventually, one way or another. So. Some time ago, there was a comment by leaders in the past. They said that some of the more complicated or the most complicated policies and issues that leaders address is at the community level or Hogan level now. That by comparison, talking about programs, budgets, personnel, and taxes or whatever, that sort policy making. I don't know. RGT, administrative level, central government level, everything's right there. It's all self-contained. You can address a lot of issues there. But when it comes to daily life, family life, community life, on the Hogan level, issues there, those are difficult to address. No, I heard that comment, and today that's what I'm thinking here. It seems rather simple or elementary in how to deal with small animals, domestic animals, but yet, the issues that we're talking about are serious. There's a lot of issues, but each of our communities, each of our homesteads, we have to deal with this. Just wanted to just put that perspective in, and although this is an opportunity to learn, certainly learn about the issues from the different perspectives, different angles. Okay, so what to do next? What are the next steps? What are the measures we take or action that we can take? So what that we can't. There's not a quick fix, obviously. But moving forward, policy on I think I would look to animal control for them to be leading us in formulating or developing, revising policies or regulations. So if RDC members we can make ourselves available to that policy work, I think we'd be serving the nation in that way, proper way. Well, I'm in a position to help address, more from a policy standpoint or funding or budget standpoint. So what I call I apologize for getting off and on this call. My communities, three of them in particular, have to deal with flooding. We do have an emergency command post set up so that we are dealing with the issues from that command post. So I'm trying to be of help and support to our emergency personnel and local leaders in that way. This morning, though, I'm sure this afternoon and into the weekend, the Little Colorado River is flowing. Very powerful river it has become. Just several days ago, it was just a dry riverbed. It's a powerful, raging river, and it's threatening some of the homes that are nearby the river. And then how it may relate to the subject here. Residents, we're asking them to evacuate, and some of them do not want to evacuate. And most of them have livestock, and guess what? A lot of them have cats and dogs that they are very protective of. Although when the families, individuals need assistance, they include their cats and dogs. And we have to provide support, aid and support to people and the smaller animals, and of course the livestock too. Iba ni question on sa behastig on the door. Appreciate the time, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, for that. Let me go back to the presenter, Dr. Upshaw. Is she still downstairs?
Yes, she's still downstairs.
Okay. Honorable members of
Chairman
RDC.
Chairman,
yes,
this is
who's this?
Helena. Helena,
Honorable
can you
Helena.
put me in there? Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Again, Yate RDC committee and all the people on the line and the presenters. Thank you for your presentation. I just, I think I have a couple of questions. First one would be, has anybody in your operation there put a budget together to see what kind of personnel we'll need to have to man our your department to sufficiently carry out the process for taking care of the animals across the Navajo Nation? And if so, how much would that be as far as the budget? And then second thing I would like to address would be that, I understand you guys get a free vaccination, and I don't know if you did rabies shots, but you said something about it cost $28,000. That was to perform all of that, to do free vaccinations. How much does it cost to do spay and neutering? And I guess we're just really concerned with the animals, the dogs and cats, probably right now. If we had, to address the overpopulation, to really make a dent in this, it seems like we'd be better off to allocate somewhere around $500,000 or $250,000, maybe $500,000 to that department, and use that money to spay and neuter as many dogs and cats as we can across the Navajo Nation. The biggest thing about people that don't want to have their dogs fixed and cats fixed is basically the cost. If we were to do a program like that, it'd be automatic, and it would just have to get the people to bring their animals in. But if it was a free service to them to get it done, I think that would get us a lot farther down the road to having more control of our animals across the Navajo Nation. So those are the two things I wanted to bring up right now. I'm really thinking seriously about allocating some funding for the spay and neutering program, and I don't know how many animals that would be able to cover. Maybe you can give us some numbers and estimates on how much it costs us to spay and neuter. Chairman Ness, those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Helena. I thought you were going to announce that you're going to bring us lunch, but I guess not. Thank you. Let me go back to the presenter. Any one of the staff, could you respond? Perhaps Mr. Gleason?
Hi, this is Dr. Upshaw. I'm back. Sorry, I had to pull blood.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the first question was a budget. We did submit a supplemental funding proposal, I believe, back in June. And the budget we submitted was just for the spay and neuter program was about 2.5 million. The goal was that to do hire 2 veterinarians.
Doctor, could you hold one moment, please?
Okay.
Please mute your phones. Everybody that's on the call, please mute your phones. Thank you. You may proceed, Dr. Upshaw.
Okay. And so the goal in that, when we submitted for the Form 2s, was about 5,000 dogs to be microchipped, spayed, and vaccinated. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, about 5,000. It did have the 2 veterinarians, but I think we're going to merge those 2 positions, because even if we try to advertise for these positions, I don't think we'll get anybody at the salary that we have. So that's our next big task, is trying to get our salaries of the veterinarians, or to contract veterinarians out. That has been done before too. So the budget we submitted for the spay and neuter program, like I said, it's about 2.5 million. I know spay and neutering, it seems so simple, but you really need, well, you need the veterinarian. You can't do it without a veterinarian, and it is a surgery. So you actually go in, remove everything. And so we get them done pretty quick. If we have enough people and tables, we can probably go through one in about 20 minutes. Not all veterinarians can spay in 20 minutes. So it's really finding that veterinarian that can do this type of work efficiently and safely, and provide that service. And so that in itself is hard to do. But yeah, we did submit a supplemental funding per budget along, I think, with animal control, and that's about what we had. And then we do have our mobile unit, like I said, to go into the communities. We've been ramping up the Chinle Veterinary Clinic, because I think that's kind of where this veterinarian would come in, and making the surgery suite bigger, trying to provide a better working environment for this veterinarian to come in. So I can scan this back in and maybe email it to Shami to send out what we submitted. And then also another component would be of the Humane Society having maybe another veterinarian in that Humane Society, and that would be all that they do. So maybe one could be a mobile, veterinarian that goes into these communities, and then we could have the Humane Society and that portion of the vet clinic in that region also. So we kind of hit the best of both worlds. But this 2.4, I think it would have to go up if we're looking at that sort of process. So I think that was. So about the cost, just an at cost spay and neuter, you're probably looking at about, I don't know, it's hard because I don't want to, how much private practice, just an at cost spay and neuter. Spay is about, I'm going to say $90. That's your personnel, that's your suture, that's your anesthesia, and your spay packs and so forth. So I'm going to say about $90, and then about $60 for a neuter. So roughly that's how we calculate a budget for each of the spays and neuters that we do. So we're pretty much providing it at cost or below cost, depending on, the weight of the animal. So we're trying to stay right at that at cost level of what we get it at. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Upshaw. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Chairman,
one at a time.
Chairman Nez, this is Kevin Gleason from Animal Control.
Okay.
Gleason. I'll go after Chairman Freeland. We had submitted a budget to the president's office for originally was $3.2 million for 23 additional staff. Part of that budget had to do with what we do, rabies, licensing. We also provide distemper for cats and dogs. And when we submitted that budget, it was so we could provide this service free to the communities when we did the free vaccinations or the free rabies and licensings at the community. We had a meeting with them. We were told the budget was unrealistic. We were told to cut it to 1.2, so we did, which still, it went from 23 additional staff down to 11. The 750,000 we were awarded was only for 6, and the UUFB that we had already provided to his office was for 4 additional more. So we were looking at 10 more, but it still had that component in it. Because my thinking is that we're given this money to provide service to the people as an animal control organization, and the only time we bill them is when they're recovering their impounded animals. The whole idea behind that was to get all the dogs and cats that we pick up that are claimed microchipped at the shelters. So in case we pick them up again, we knew who they belonged to. Because as it stands now, majority of the stuff we pick up don't have microchips or anything. So if we get no claimants after the 3-day holding period, we euthanize them. Then a couple of weeks later, somebody will come in and ask if we picked up their dogs, and we had, but we had already followed what the current law allows us to do. So the budgets were submitted, and Dr. Upshaw had sent us her budget, and we forwarded it with ours along to the OPVP office, like we were instructed at the time. So that's where we're at on ours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gleason. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, good morning, colleagues, staff. Good morning, Dr. Upshaw and your team, Mr. Gleason and your team. Thank you for the updates and reports. I'm just listening and wondering, these services are so important, colleagues, and it's always a lot of the same of what we hear. Operate more with less, and budget cuts are affecting services. This is really a health and human service issue, a social issue as well. If in ways that we have to protect our people from dogs or vicious animals, and then for the vet clinic to provide a service below cost to our Navajo people. If we went to Red Rock Animal Clinic or Rio Grande Animal Clinic in Albuquerque, our people would be paying 3-4 times as much for spay and neuter. We got to figure out a way, colleagues, to help these programs because they're so vital to our Navajo people. And once again, it's like we got to also be at the forefront of education as well. Spay and neutering is so important. How do we implore that message again? It's like we're coming out of this whole episode of COVID. We're not fully there yet, but COVID really threw a wrench into everything that we do and the plans that we had, the ideas and what we wanted to really work on. How do we begin this again? How do we begin these discussions again for these programs? I support both of them, and I really would like to see that Crown Point Animal Shelter become a reality. We need that out there big time because a lot of our impounded animals go to Shiprock, and there's a real need for those requests for services in Crown Point. And we worked a lot with NTU, the vet clinic there, but they're also completely closed. How can we help the vet program sustain itself? It's going to take dollars, and I'm willing to help any way that I can, even if it helps, even if it means allocating dollars. I think with budget season coming up right now, we really need to go through these budgets with a fine-tooth comb. A lot of our programs are hurting, and it's really unfortunate when they get cut even more, even if it's a small percentage. It really affects the staff. It affects morale. Understandably, the staff has to operate more with less, And we don't want that to affect morale and affect the staff's daily operational needs and helping address these issues with our people. But how can we allocate some funding, even if it's not reoccurring funding, a one-time shot, a one-time vitamin B12 allocation to these programs? They desperately need it. And I'm in support of that. I would love to figure out a way to get more money to them, but of course it's all contingent upon what our budget situation is, the current status of our revenue sources. I don't know if any of these programs would be eligible for ARPA, but we've got to figure something out because this issue is too important and this issue is so vital, particularly when human life is lost. And the Honorable Chaso did sponsor that emergency legislation related to the animals and the dogs, but it was of course vetoed. But these discussions are happening now. I really hope that some good is taken away from today's call, and you all have my support. You all have our support, excuse me, because this is such an important issue right now, and I see a lot of dogs running around Crown Point, and I would love for us to catch them, but it's hard, and vice versa. Out in the rural, even the rural communities are affected by dogs, Lake Valley and White Rock. So, Chairman, I just wanted to state that comment. I really don't have any questions, but my comments really pertain to the budget and the budget, especially within the Division of Natural Resources. I'm really hoping that there's a lot of unmet needs. I'm hoping that there's ARPA. I'm hoping that DNR is really gearing up to put forth their unmet needs and put forth their ARPA list. And I hope these two programs are a big part of that as well. So, Eddie, Chairman, I just want to mention that. And DNR is we're getting a lot of these programs that are underfunded, and it's really mind-boggling how our programs continue to operate with less money. And I think of the situation of the Rangers, going from 55 Rangers at one time to 7, and to cover 27,000 square miles. We got to do something. So, Chairman, I just want to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Dr. Upshaw and Mr. Gleason. About a couple of weeks ago, I was driving down to the family farmhouse, and before I got there, I saw a young lady nearby residential areas. Really, I just saw a pile of dust. I was driving by and I noticed there was dogs there, a couple of dogs, and right away my heart started racing, and I couldn't help but stop. And she was trying to separate two pit bulls, one male and one female. And I just stopped and crawled under the fence there and ran over there, and she said, please help me. She says, I'm trying to separate these two dogs. It was just bloody. It was a bloody mess. And she was probably only like 20 years old. And she was house sitting for the people there. And I tried to put a 2x4 between them. I did everything to try and help her separate. And she said, pull the other one by the leg. She was holding the one leg and it wouldn't separate. Finally, I just started kicking the face of the dog there. It let go. It was just so bloody. And we finally separated it. She's been at it for about 10 to 15 minutes, she said, trying to separate these two. And she was just so tired, just dripping sweat, and just helping her for a few minutes, 5 minutes, I would say. Boy, I was just hot. And it was a scary experience. And I thought, what if they turned on her? What if is what I was thinking. What if it attacked me? And it was just really sad. And for your department to be not considered essential, I believe that needs to be changed. Your department is essential. I believe a ranger could go there and probably confiscate those dogs. They were vicious. They were just vicious dogs. And if you would have seen it, you would have known what I was talking about. So, but just thinking about all this, and I could see what people experience, what they go through. This morning, there was a text message in Kayenta. There was a dog attack again, but I don't know. Sound like they made sure that it didn't get any worse by throwing rocks at the dog. So we really need this under control. The overpopulation of dogs, the attacks of dogs on each other, livestock and humans, somewhere it has to stop. What can we do to mitigate this? We see what is happening. We don't want anything horrible, horrendous to happen, but it just might happen again soon. And now's the time to at least have this additional staff get on board, whether it's under the resource enforcement or animal control. We need these programs up and about helping, and I'm sure it will decrease the numbers with your department there, Dr. Upshaw. And I just want to say this and thank you for the presentation. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Could I just say something real quick? This is Dr. Upshaw.
Go ahead.
Oh, so Mr. I'm gonna say Dr. Freeland. Mr. Freeland, we've been trying to get and this is on a different topic, but I don't know how to reach you. Get a horse gelding day in Eastern Agency. We've been having a hard time getting a site for this day. We've asked Crown Point and a couple of areas. I don't know if we could just touch base with you and see if we could get a site out in Eastern for an equine gelding day, free equine gelding day. So, and thank you. I really appreciate you listening out to us. So.
Thank you, Dr. Upshaw. Honorable members of
Chairman.
RDC, any other comments or questions?
Chairman. Freeland.
Freeland, go ahead.
Chairman, if I could just have Dr. Upshaw, I believe that was Dr. Upshaw, have her contact me directly, and I'll be glad to talk to her about what she just mentioned. Thank you.
Vice Chair Smith, listening.
Do you have, Dr. Upshaw, do you have Honorable Freeland's contact information?
I do not.
Okay. Honorable Freeland, how would you like to take care of your contact information to Dr. Upshaw?
Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Upshaw, if you can just email me and I'll shoot you my cell phone number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith Jr.
Well, thank you, Shache. Real quick, just listening at the tail end of what was being presented. Thank you, Dr. Upshaw and Mr. Gleason, for bringing this forth to the RDC. As you well know, I did work with the Navajo Nation Division of Natural Resources as a ranger, and this has been problematic for many years. And I do support the fact that we need to fund and upgrade the animal control and Division of Natural Resources enforcement to the capacity of enforcing all livestock and all domestic animals matters. The other one I want to bring forth, Chair, is the court system and the prosecution.
they are part of the key components in making these cases happen, because these are civil and they can become criminal. And when it does become criminal, that's when we rely on the courts to help the officer who's investigated on proper disposal or restitution or even incarceration of the animals or even the owners. So it works hand in hand. I know that it's a big cycle, and working as former Navajo Nation Ranger, we would do the enforcement, we would do the investigation, and we would file them. And for some reason it did not go through the judicial system or the court system, or if it was not prosecuted, and then others would learn or hear about it, and they'd say, well, there's really no need to abide by these laws and regulations that set forth. That's why we have such an overpopulation of feral dogs. At one point, it was an pet ownership, and pretty soon became problematic because lack of neutering and spaying, and the cost of that, or the scheduling or bringing the animals forth and getting them worked upon is another issue that I'm sure animal control and veterinarian are trying to work with the Navajo Nation. As a matter of fact, I know a family that has over 50 animals and been working with them, and they're reducing them. Eventually, they're getting them down and educating them, and they are diligently doing that. So, Shananda, I just want to make that known. And I did get the email from Dr. Upshaw, and if it comes to budgetary or looking for funding or assisting, I'm willing to help in all matters on that. But I'd like to make that known that we need the whole judicial system, legislative and executive, working together to get to combat this, because enough is enough. One injury, one fatality is one too many. We don't need to face that and see that happen again. Shananda, thanks for letting me speak, Shananda. Appreciate that. Have a good day.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith, for that. Dr. Upshaw.
Thank you, Honorable Smith, and thank you for listening in. I do agree. I think even animal control and the prosecution portion is really important, and having all components working together what makes us more efficient and to get the jobs done that we need. It really, I really believe that we all need to work together. There's areas that we miss that animal control can help us with, and I'm sure vice versa. I've been talking with Joe and or Mr. Begay, and how can we help them, and because I know there's areas where they can help us too. So I think prosecution's huge, especially with the fatality and dealing with that portion. And just to kind of speak along the lines of that, it is tough, what animal control goes through and what they see. We're the veterinary program's kind of on the tail end, and we do the lab submissions, but just seeing and hearing it and seeing it on their face, and then you having to take that home and seeing it, and it is really hard on the staff and the morale. So, and then when you work hard, vet program, animal control, and I know CI works hard too, and then to kind of not have it, the understanding or the education and maybe the need, then it falls through somewhere in the prosecution portion. It is hard for everybody. So I do agree. Honorable Smith, and it's good to hear from you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Upshaw. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? Our recommendations to Dr. Upshaw as well as Mr. Gleason is to formulate a budget. And one of the recommendations was to create and establish a humane society on the Navajo Nation. Although there's other areas of discussion as well that we need to consider your department an essential service. If we do not consider your department essential, this dog, cat population, everything could just really get out of control. And we need to get it under control. So these are our recommendations, and I'm sure your staff is taking notes as well as to what needs to be done. And hopefully we'll schedule another follow-up meeting in the near future here. Thank you, Dr. Upshaw. Honorable members of RDC, any other questions for Ms. Begay? Do you have any questions? Ms. Siako, any questions? Can anybody hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Begay, are you still on the call with us?
I can hear you, Chair.
Do you have any other questions?
The other recommendation I would suggest is that maybe the next meeting to invite the Office of the Controller and have some discussion about the proprietary account for the department. Back to you,
Okay,
Chair.
thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Dr. Upshaw for the presentation, and also Mr. Gleason. Dr. Upshaw?
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I really appreciate all your encouraging words, and I will relate that to our staff. And I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us, and Mr. Honorable Stewart's passion to get us onto the to the agenda. So Yaj, thank you. And just thank you to everybody. We really appreciate all your help and all your insight. So thank you.
Sheila and Mr. Gleason.
Yes, sir. Honorable Delegate Chairman Nez, I do appreciate the time that you guys gave us today to express our concerns and the issues that we're facing, both us and the vet program, with what we're having to deal with every day. I also like to show appreciation to Hope Wilson and her crew for assisting us with the livestock damage issues that we do run into, because we still have issues with our officers filing the courts because it's under Title III, and they have the commission for that. Our officers don't. I do appreciate their help in every aspect. And I do agree with Delegate Smith, that natural resource, all the programs need to be improved. The rangers, forestry, game wardens, animal control, even Department of Ag's officers, where they only have one. We all could work together and all have the same authority to address everything we run into. I think we'd be more effective as a division in trying to address just the issues that DOJ says we can enforce. I do agree with that comment. And I thank you guys for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hope Wilson, are you still on the call? Would you like to add anything?
Good afternoon, Chairman Nez. Yes, this is Hope Wilson from Resource Enforcement, and just to kind of give you some history on the VET program, they used to have general fund funding that came to them. However, with the dwindling decline of funding, with the revenues that were decreasing over the years, the decision was made to switch them solely under proprietary funding. So that's what they run off now. And that's just through the years, things have changed under different directors, so that they run solely on proprietary funding. Just like Dr. Upshaw said, whatever revenue they generate and stuff, it's deposited in there. But also, the Livestock Custody Fund used to be under Resource Enforcement, and that switched under Department of Agriculture. And in that plan of operation, it states that there is funding for veterinary services, vaccinations, different things that Dr. Upshaw needs. And she can work with Mr. Watchman there in terms of accessing some of that funding for some of her needs. If she needs equipment replacement or different things, that funding is available as well on that side. And, Mr. Gleason is right in terms of our enforcement authority, and we talked with the RDC and LOC about this as well. What's happening now is that the Division of Natural Resource officers have turned in their Navajo Nation Post applications to Chief Francisco's office, and they are there. They're still under review, and what Chief Francisco is requesting is a separate memorandum of agreement between NPD and DNR regarding cross-commissioning. So that's another added step that we're working on. I haven't heard as far as the time frame as to when that's going to happen, when that's going to occur. But just to reiterate what Mr. Gleason says, is that it really depends on someone's legal opinion as to what natural resource officers can and can't enforce. And Resource Enforcement has been working with Mr. Bitsui at the Office of the Prosecutor regarding, filing our citations and stuff like that. So there has been a real struggle in the past regarding the prosecution of natural resource crimes. However, with Mr. Bitsui's help, we're moving forward in those instances, and he's informed the prosecutors at the district level, that these natural resource citations are going to be coming in, and they're going to be representing us, filing on our behalf and stuff, and working together. So we've started working in that direction. We had a presentation from Office of the Prosecutor regarding natural resource violations, and just opening up the door to staff regarding, come talk to us if you have questions and concerns. We're here, we'll talk about it, we'll discuss it, and we'll decide how we're going to move forward in those instances. And with Mr. Bitsui is leaving the Office of the Prosecutor. His last day is today. However, they're transferring Mr. Vernon Jackson from Crown Point, who is going to be the acting chief prosecutor. So we look forward to working with him, and he's already reached out to us to let us know that he's going to be taking the helm there and working with us. And that's it.
Are you done, Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for all the information, as well as having to do a good job over there at Resource Enforcement. So thank you very much for all you do. Honorable members of RDC, I believe we are at the conclusion of our meeting. Are there any last comments or questions? None. We have another meeting at 1 o'clock, so I'm sure you'll have a good lunch break, and you all be safe. Take care. We'll adjourn now at 11:39 a.m. Have a good day. God bless you all.
Good day, everyone.